What is going on, all you wonderful A-Plusters out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again with another review for you guys. This time I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Tales of the Empire. And those of you wondering why this review is not up on Monday, like I said during our podcast, well, I definitely tried to get it up on Monday, but unfortunately, it's been really challenging to struggle with my life as a YouTuber along with my life as a Jedi. The Jedi is very much a very committed path, and unfortunately, things got even worse on Monday when Chancellor Palpatine executed Order 66, which caused all the clone troopers to turn on us. Luckily, I was able to save my ass in the very last minute by leaving the Jedi Order, and there was a little bit of a complication with the clone trooper that was trying to kill me, because on the one hand, I left the Jedi Order after the order was executed, but the Jedi Order was still kind of standing a little bit for the next 5 minutes, so luckily it worked as a technicality, and I was able to escape the execution, and eventually I stole myself a freighter where I eventually was able to hitch a ride back to Earth where I could record this video. So those of you who are calling BS and think that I'm completely full of shit, you may or may not be right. So here is my second story about why I didn't actually review this series on Monday. Allergies have been kicking my ass, as you could probably hear in my voice. And it's just, every time I got in front of the camera, it was just like I had a running nose, I had a sneeze, and just like, man, allergy season sucks this year. All right. You know, it's been coming and going for me, but like Monday, it hit me hard. And then of course, Tuesday and Wednesday it worked. But today I got a day off. So I thought, hey, now's my chance to finally do that review I was supposed to do a while ago. So here it is, everyone, Tales of the Empire. Now, something really cool going into this series. Looking back at Tales of the Jedi, one thing that this show does, along with Tales of the Empire, both of them have this common theme of following two characters, both of them starting at the exact same path, but finishing at two very different destinations. That exact same theme runs in both series. So in Tales of the Jedi, it was, of course, Count Dooku and Ahsoka. Tales of the Jedi, I really enjoyed for the most part. I know this isn't a review of Tales of the Jedi, it's Tales of the Empire, so I'm just going to give my thoughts extremely briefly. But I thought it was a good show. I was kind of disappointed because I went into the show not knowing it was going to be a mini-series. I actually thought this was going to be a full-on anthology with like 22-minute episodes, and it might even be like a full season. That ended up not being the case, as it was only 6 episodes, with all of them being like 13 minutes, I want to say. And the same goes with this. But at least going into Tales of the Empire, I knew to expect that. But I do love that it carries the same theme, following two very different characters going down, you know, the exact same path at first, but then ending into very different destinations. So in Tales of the Empire, we follow a young version of Morgan Elsbeth, I believe that's her name. And of course, in the second half of the season, we follow Jedi Barriss Offee, someone who we have been wanting closure for since the end of the Clone Wars, because we never really got back to her. I mean, I think there was like an explanation in something like whether it was Rebels or Star Wars comic book that she survived Order 66. I don't remember where that came from. Definitely someone who's a Star Wars fan, let me know in the comments below where it was confirmed that she survived to execute Order 66 before the show, because I totally forgot. That being said, we finally get back to her, and how cool is it actually? Before I actually get into this review, seriously guys, take a shot every time I've been just like delaying this review during this review. But last thing I want to say, how cool is it that we got closure on 2 Clone Wars storylines now? Because we got closure on the Zillo Beast during the Bad Batch finale, and now we get closure on Barriss. So to me, that's awesome that we got him in the same week as well. This is just a good year for Star Wars, I think. We got the re-release of Phantom Menace. We got the cool look at the Acolyte, which looks awesome. And then we got Tales of the Empire. And plenty more to come. Plenty more to come. So all that being said, let's finally get into this review. Starting with the first half, which is episodes 1 through 3, which I got to give a shout out to the episode titling. Episode 1 being Path to Fear, episode 2 being Path to Anger, episode 3 being Path to Hate. You know, obviously fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Episode 1, of course, we start out on Dathomir, where the Separatists are basically full on invading it, just like we saw in the Clone Wars, but here we get the perspective of just, not the witches themselves, but just, like, I guess they wouldn't be Night Sisters, but they would be whatever that race is called, which I totally forgot, but Dathomirians, I don't know. But regardless, we see just like civilians try and survive. We follow Morgan Elsbeth, like trying not to die from all these droids that are invading, including, of course, General Grievous, who ends up killing her mother. But she's luckily saved, and she finds refugee within this little mountain village, which has a bunch of pacifists living there, which I didn't even know was a thing on Dathomir. To me, I always thought Dathomir was just like a violent planet, and that everyone that lived on there was violent. Like the Night Sisters, like the Darth Maul's race. Like, I just assumed it was just not a pleasant place to be, but here we are in a village where they seem to be living life like nomads. In fact, they actually kind of remind me of the air nomads from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They don't want to engage with the Separatists because they think that if they just hide in the mountains, eventually the Separatists will just go away. Morgan doesn't believe so after everything that she just witnessed from the Separatists, so she leads a small group of people to find weapons in order to fight back, but of course this is what ends up getting everyone killed in the end. A really cool episode, and it very much reminds me of kind of, the lessons, one of the lessons that Yoda taught Luke, which is, well, in the words of Yoda, judge me by my size, do you? In this case, it was more, don't judge a book by its cover, because we have the leader of the clan who looks very much like harmless, looks like she couldn't really, protect, and she wouldn't be able to protect anyone if the Separatists did arrive. But we do see at the end that, she was prepared this whole time. She just didn't want to go looking for battle. She only wanted to be prepared for if the Separatists did arrive. On the one hand, I'm kind of mixed about this, because on the one hand, yes, it's she is the leader, she is the one who gets to make the final decisions. But on the other hand, whenever people brought up this concern of what if the Separatists do attack, she kept brushing them off. Which I think that was kind of like the biggest, I think Morgan Elsbeth could have been taught the way of her people if she hadn't just constantly brushed Morgan off every time Morgan suggested, what if the Separatists arrive? But on the other hand, yes, Morgan is the one that ended up getting people killed, because going behind the leader's back, she tried to gather weapons to use to fight against the Separatists. So it's kind of one of those things where, to an extent, both are kind of in the wrong. One should have been more open and upfront about what the actual reason she wasn't afraid of the Separatists was. Whereas Morgan also, I feel like there's also that thing of, even if she did tell this to Morgan still would have, gone behind her back. It very much kind of reminds me of the whole thing, the dynamic between Admiral Hodo and Poe Dameron from the movie Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It kind of reminds me of that dynamic. I think to an extent, both are kind of in the wrong, and I think if there was more communication between the two, they could have been more prepared. But of course, they both had their own agendas, and that's what led to, the destruction that we see. Obviously, I think Morgan is the one who is more responsible, but regardless, I think a small sliver of responsibility definitely goes to that leader as well. We cut to episode 2, where it's a time jump, and years later, Morgan is now trying to make a deal with the Empire. It turns out in between episodes, she basically kind of became the leader of a small town on this planet that doesn't have the most resources, but it has resources that are valuable to the Empire, just not valuable to them. She's trying to cut a deal with the Empire the Empire mining their planets, but also providing jobs for the people of her village, where, by the way, people in this village are living in poverty, but Morgan herself is basically living like a queen. So people in this village are understandably very, very upset with her. And when the Empire, eventually does decide to make a deal with her, rather than keeping her word that she would provide opportunities for the people living there, she just kind of tosses them aside and goes, oh yeah, no, it's all the Empires. The Empire can have whatever they want, as long as I get to be in charge. So she basically gives absolutely nothing in return to the village, after taking a lot. She takes without giving back, basically. And she also runs things, as we see in the next episode, episode 3, Path to Hate. She runs things with a tight fist, even when the Empire isn't even there. And when the New Republic tries to offer them, resources and a place within the New Republic, she turns them down, especially because it would mean that she herself would have to go on trial for war crimes. But regardless, she turns them down, and then forces, or has her, hired bounty hunters, or her hired bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, mercenaries. She has them kill the officers of the New Republic, which, given that one of them was a representative, I believe she was I believe she was like a councilwoman or something from the New Republic. Given that one of them was very important within the New Republic, if she wasn't wanted before, she definitely will be now. And of course, as we do see this playing out in the next episode, we do get a moment where one of them tries to send a signal to the New Republic, but we ends up getting caught by Bo-Katan, so she kind of hears it, but before she can ask for help, the signal is blown up. But we know that this eventually does lead to Ahsoka finding the planet later on and going after her, especially when she finds out that she has a connection with Admiral Thrawn. So, I thought that was pretty cool, a really cool way to tie, that storyline into the not only the Mandalorian but also the Ahsoka spinoff show. It's also cool to see that art style this far into the timeline. That is definitely the farthest we've gotten in the timeline with that Star Wars art style, and I absolutely love that. Yeah, not much else I can really say. It was a cool story, and it really kind of like answered some questions I had, especially with how Admiral Thrawn ended up cultivating a relationship with the Night Sisters, and now it kind of makes a lot of sense because he's the kind of guy that studies the Force but doesn't necessarily align himself with Force users. But of course, the Night Sisters and him seem to have a very similar goal in mind, and we see through his tactics of creating a friendship, or not friendship, but a partnership through Morgan, it's easy to see how he was able to secure a, partnership with the Night Sisters in the end. So overall, first 3 episodes, not my favorite, but it was cool to see how they tied it in with, the current run of the Dave Filoni Star Wars universe. So next, we got to get to the second half, which is the one that I think the fans were really excited for, which is, of course, the backstory of Barriss Offee. So, of course, in the Clone Wars, she betrayed the Jedi Order and tried to frame Ahsoka, but of course she was caught in the end, and her thing is she just feels like the Jedi have just lost their way, which I think is a theme that gets explored heavily within the Clone Wars, heavily within Revenge of the Sith, and of course, extremely heavily within The Last Jedi, which is funny, because when it happens in Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars, people love it, but when Luke questions the Jedi Order in The Last Jedi, suddenly people hate it. I don't know, man. Fans are weird. Let's just leave it at that. So we get to Barriss, who is now in prison, in Jedi prison, and Execute Order 66 has happened. The Jedi are being executed all over the galaxy, and the clone troopers are now given orders to escort her to the new Inquisitor home base, which is not complete yet, but we do see it kind of currently under construction. So they escort her here, where she is now recruited to become an Inquisitor, but they only have room for one Inquisitor, so they end up pitting all the potential recruits against each other. Eventually, it comes down to between her and one other Padawan, I believe. I don't believe the kid was a Jedi that she was facing against, and it ends up being a fight to the death, and she's trying to talk her way out of it, but he, of course, doesn't want to hear it. He just wants to survive, so she has no choice but to use kind of the dark side of the Force in order to live. She actually ends up Force choking him in order to survive. The next episode, she is a full-on Inquisitor working under Darth Vader, and she's given orders to take in a Jedi. Now, she and the Inquisitor that she's with have two very different methods of going about this. Barriss wants to be more compassionate, more understanding. The Inquisitor she's with doesn't. There's a really dark scene that I almost want to talk about, but I almost feel like the shock value is what makes it super impactful, so I won't spoil it for you. All I'm going to say is that, peaceful negotiations were not in her favor. It was a very intense moment, but it leads to them eventually finding the Jedi that they are looking for. And when they get to the Jedi, they again have 2 very different methods. The Inquisitor wants to kill the Jedi on the spot, they were most likely ordered to, but Barriss wants to try to take the Jedi in, especially after the Jedi surrenders. However, the Inquisitor that Barriss is with doesn't want to take in prisoners, and as she strikes down the Jedi, Barriss basically Force pushes her off the cliff, and Barriss is able to use the Force in order to heal the other Jedi, ending the episode. Episode 6, she is now known as the Healer, and it looks like there's been a time jump because now she has aged a bit, but that could also be because of her being known as the healer, implying that she uses the Force to heal people, which does take up some of your own life energy in order to do. Very similar to, again, Last Jedi with Luke doing the Force projection. A technique like that basically takes life energy from you, and so it's, it's why you don't see the Jedi using those kind of tricks often, as often as they probably could be. I mean, if Obi-Wan used that technique during Phantom Menace, I think Qui-Gon would still be alive and regretting his decision to, suggest that Anakin go under the training of the Jedi Council, especially given what happens afterwards. Then again, maybe Qui-Gon Jinn, having been there from the start, could have prevented Anakin from turning to the dark side. Who knows? Who knows? But regardless, episode 6, we get a return of the Inquisitor that she was working with in the previous episode. She's going after a child who is Force sensitive. Barriss escorts them to a cave where they are able to escape. But when the Inquisitor goes after them, she ends up getting lost in these exact same caves. The caves that she's in kind of reminds me of kind of the murky area within The Empire Strikes Back that Luke goes to, because it's clear that the Force is very strong within this cave. Otherwise, how would a Inquisitor not being able to track down a youngling? A great line that I absolutely love in this episode, because it's so true. The Empire uses fear in order to, control the galaxy. But something that that a lot of people don't realize, that work within the Empire, they see them using fear as their ally, fear as their weapon. What they don't understand is that fear is also their master. They do things not because they want to, but because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't. I'm sure there's probably a few people that work within the Empire that know exactly what the Empire is and embrace it, like Admiral Thrawn, General Tarkin. But, when it comes to kind of your Inquisitors, when it comes to your soldiers, they're not doing it because they think, hooray for the Empire. They're doing it out of fear. So I do love, what Barriss tells her in this episode. She goes, you told me that fear is our ally. I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly how she worded it, but basically she's like, I don't think fear is your ally. Fear is your master. And we end up with the Inquisitor stabbing Barriss accidentally while trying to find her way out of the cave. And it was kind of that moment where the Inquisitor turns back to the light side and realizes kind of the error of her mistakes. And we get the Inquisitor promising that she won't let Barriss die as she finally finds her way out of the cave, through the light side of the Force. We don't get a conclusion to this as to whether or not Barriss does survive this, but I don't really think it matters in the end. The part of Barriss' storyline that did get wrapped up was, of course, her redemption in the end, her kind of realizing that she was on a dark path, but that there is always still hope out there. If she were to go back to the Clone Wars era with the knowledge that she has now, while I don't see her being a part of the Jedi Order, I definitely don't see her attacking the Jedi Order the way that she did within that those episodes of the Clone Wars, and I think that's like a really cool way to end her storyline. If we see more of her in the future, awesome, but if we don't, I'm glad to have at least had this kind of closure with her character arc. So overall, these 6 episodes were, mostly what I expected. They were extremely well animated, very well written, and of course, they gave us that closure that we had been looking for her storyline, along with tying some things in with even current Star Wars like The Mandalorian. So I had a really good time watching this. I knew exactly what to expect, so I think that definitely helped. I wasn't disappointed like I was with Tales of the Jedi, again, because with Tales of the Jedi, it wasn't that it was bad, it was just that I went into it expecting something very different. This I didn't. I knew exactly what to expect, and therefore I was definitely not disappointed by only 6 episodes and each of them only being 13 minutes long. They were a very solid 13 minutes every single one of those episodes. Overall, good series. If you are a Star Wars fan, I highly recommend checking this show out. If you are not a Star Wars fan and you have never seen a single Star Wars material, don't let this be your first, because you will be very, 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 very confused. This is definitely a show written for Star Wars fans, especially fans of the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian, basically everything that isn't the Star Wars movies. So I wouldn't recommend starting here, basically, if you're trying to get into Star Wars. But if you are already into Star Wars, this is a great show for you. But at the end of the day, of course, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think. So definitely let me know your thoughts on these episodes in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. But of course, guys, above all, don't forget to keep it A+, and I will talk to all of you wonderful human beings later. Goodbye.